Your Sasstastic Life with hosts Trisha Rivas and Wendy Fredrigo.
Hello.
Hello.
We should have done the singing intro.
Oh my God, that would have been
The singing intro.
Oh, which song would we have done?
We would have made up our own.
That tracks. 1000% yes.
Okay, friends, we are super excited to have Brit Brown in the house.
Hello, friends.
We
10 years later, I'm here.
Well, I mean, you do have to drive up to Minneapolis.
True. Trisha teases me that I live in Minneapolis. For those that don't
It's a
live in
little
Des
far.
Moines, don't worry about it.
I'm always like, should I bring my overnight bag?
South Minneapolis. It's fine.
So we were, pre-camera rolling.
Oh.
We were like, holy crap, where do we even start? So there's, we don't script shit. So we're just going to dive in.
The number of times people have said that, where do I even begin with a conversation? Ooh, I don't know. Good luck.
Well, it's because you are such a wealth of knowledge and experience. And I mean that with love.
I do.
Because you really are.
Mm-hmm.
So
there's a phrase or a term, which I almost feel weird saying it about myself because I then Googled it and like looked up other people that are called this. And I'm like, oh, no, I feel really not that, but multi-hyphenates. So people that do lots and lots and lots and lots of things. So they're entrepreneur, coach, a small business owner, blah, blah, blah. So it's multi-hyphenates. There's lots of hyphens between the things that they do.
Oh.
I'm a multi-hyphenate.
And so what were some other people?
I don't know, fancy people that do things. I don't know, Trisha, look them up. No.
Brit's picture was there.
No. It's very scary. I don't know. People that do way bigger things than me. Ooh. Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yes. So for someone who's never met you, how would you describe yourself to them?
I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a small business owner. I am a mom of 5. I am incredibly creative. I've been an artist most of my life, and I also am neurodivergent. I have diagnosed ADHD and a bevy of other options available. Ask my therapist and or my doctor on any given day what they think applies. But ultimately, my brain works a little bit different than the standard show. And that tends to lend to some incredible opportunities and some very serious struggles in my life. And I do my best to make other people feel like they're not the only one. And that's the crux of it, usually.
I love that.
And you do an amazing job of that. Tell us a little bit about this journey and your diagnosis.
Right.
Because you really did a deep dive yourself. And what I love about you, and we were talking a little bit about this before the cameras was rolling, is that you want the information, you want the knowledge, so then you can share it.
Correct. So I will preface this story with, Mom, I grew up in a household with a terminally ill brother. So for the most part, I grew up around people that were constantly researching, constantly looking for more information, more answers, more everything. And my mom used to and still does say there's kind of 2 realms of people. They're the ones that take the information they get and bury their head in the sand and do what they can with what they have. And then there's the opposite side of those who want to know everything and apply it in whatever way they can. My mom is the latter, and thus I am the latter. And when we adopted our kiddos, we had many, many, many opportunities to look at, what they had already been told, what backgrounds we had, what we had. But ultimately, I wanted to make sure my kids had the best services, tools, tips, tricks, anything they needed. So that was where my deep dive with ADHD started. I have 4 of my 5 kids have ADHD diagnoses. Oh man. And one of those is one that I made from scratch. So there's that. But
I love it when you say that, made from scratch.
Oh, Rowie. He very much is. So my mom likes to say you have no one to blame but yourself for him. And I don't. So, but basically all of my research started with making sure my kids had the right resources and tools and therapists and meds and whatever they needed to have, and making sure that I had all of that available for them. But when the pandemic hit, most of my coping mechanisms were all built around the community I'd built around myself. It was my aerial gym that I was in. It was my friends. It was my work. I was a full-time professional photographer,
Yeah.
and I couldn't shoot anymore. I couldn't do anything, and all of my coping mechanisms were gone. I melted. I was unwell, and
Mhm.
that is in the most simple term I can say.
Yeah.
I was not parenting, I was not living, I was not anything. It was not even just depression, it was complete meltdown. Like
Yeah.
there was nothing left. And my therapist and I had some pretty in-depth discussions, and she said, "You about ready to start talking about some diagnoses?" And I said, "I don't know what you're talking about, Maddie. I don't know what you're talking about." She's like, "Okay." So we started having some discussions around what pieces were removed from my life basically with the onset of the pandemic
Mm.
and how those had affected me, and then started doing some testing and looking at things. And ADHD was through all the testing things we did, the one that had the most fit. And such is the way with neurodivergence in general. um, I like to say everybody's cousins. So
Mhm.
autism, ADHD, Tourette's, anxiety, depression, OCD, a lot of them all have very, very similar traits that can make them tricky to diagnose because they it's like a monstrous, pretty prismatic Venn diagram of things
Mm.
that fit into various things. And so while you may have one diagnosis, you may have many markers of another. And that is the case for me and for many, many people I know. But with that, I was able to get some new tools, get some new tricks, get some new information, find a community of humans, which I found on TikTok for the most part.
Yes. Yes.
And with that, also finding more tools for my kids, more empathy, more understanding, more getting why they did a thing.
Mhm.
And ultimately, building my business around that. And that is ish where I live now.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And hallelujah
Oh
that
my.
you have
Man, oh man.
because you truly have helped so many people.
That's sweet of you.
And you I'm not probably going to say this politically correct, but you dumb down. That's not right.
Simplified.
Simplify.
Simplified.
Yes.
I'll help you,
Thank
Trisha.
you. Thank you, my dear. I'm not using my words correctly.
That's all right.
Yes, you simplify what it is that you have gone through to help other people.
Right.
And you are so transparent and so honest about it. And it's just a breath of fresh air. It really, really is. Um, I mean, I have, coworkers that follow you and they will say all the time, thank you. Thank you for being so honest
Right.
about it. I do have to ask, were, did you sense that you had some of these markers even before you were diagnosed?
I would say that I've always been incredibly creative. I've always kind of done things to the beat of my own drum.
Hmm.
And I spoke about this before we started filming, but my mom was actually diagnosed with ADHD about a month before I was. So such is the way. She's 57. There were no diagnoses back then
No,
for men, women, children. No one, like that just did not happen.
no.
You were just quirky and odd and weird and
Or put in a
or
psychiatric
put
home.
or correct. I
Yes.
mean, you were in some way institutionalized, whether
Yes.
that was in schools or otherwise,
Mm,
because if they couldn't handle you, they just didn't. And
yes.
that,
Yeah.
thank all of the gods that is not the case anymore. And we've had a lot
Yes.
of research and studies done. But ultimately, my life was built around hectic humans. My life was built around people who needed to have a really rigid schedule to be able to maintain their emotional balance and be able to function. Because if we didn't have that, my mom couldn't function. And
Yeah.
so it was built into my everyday life
Mhm.
already. So it doesn't necessarily mean that I didn't think that I had any of it or it didn't apply, but there are so many pieces of my life and how I grew up. And then as I became a mother, became a, homemaker, as I built my
Yeah.
own schedule and systems and stuff, I just built my life around me to work. And I think had I been forced into a career where I was having to mold to more neurotypical humans, I
Mhm.
would have felt more out of place and felt more like what is wrong with me? But I was told from the day I was born that I was hot shit and could do anything that I wanted. And I
Yeah.
didn't have to abide by any system or rule
Yeah.
other than my mother's, who, for the record, if I dye my hair pink, I am in big fat trouble and grounded at any point. I've done it anyway, but I'm just saying.
Exactly.
But yeah, it's very much, it's interesting because I think a lot of misdiagnoses actually happen because people are supported. A lot of times, diagnoses only happen when you're irritating to other people. And if you're supported in your systems and in your life and in your work and in these things, then you're cool. You're good.
Yeah.
You don't need as many supports
Yeah.
because they're already built into your everyday systems.
Yeah.
So,
That makes sense.
yep.
That makes sense. Again, the simplify.
I
The
try
simplify.
to break it down if I
I
can.
know you do.
Yes. Well, I love what you so talk about just the brain of the entrepreneur, even how
Mhm.
generally business owners, entrepreneurs are a little more neurospicy,
Neuro-Sparkly.
sparkly.
Wendy.
That's
Neuro-Sparkly.
the new word.
I know.
I'm changing
Yes.
it. I love it so much.
Yes.
Neuro-Sparkly.
You need to patent that.
I should. I think that okay. I will preface this again with a small story. So my senior year, I was a valedictorian candidate. I was very smart. I did very well in school. I also just straight up didn't go if I didn't need to because I had straight A's. Like, what do you want? Like, what more do you want from me?
Yeah.
So, when you go to talk to your counselor, senior year, beginning of senior, like, what do you want to do? Where do you want to apply? What things do you want? I mean, I was quite bright with a high GPA. She had every thought of the things that I was going to say. She said, okay, what do you want to do? And I said, whatever I can do that I don't have to get up before 9 a.m. And she said, Brittany, that is an unsustainable goal. And I said, watch me.
I love it.
I didn't care. Like,
Mhm.
I knew I wanted to be an artist in some manner or fashion. I knew that I did not want to have to get up early. I
Yeah.
knew that I did not want to work in an office. Like, even just the thought of being in a cubicle makes me have the shivers. Like, I can't, nope.
Mhm.
And I think with that, I had an entrepreneurial mind before I was even
Yeah.
out of school.
Mhm.
And I think many, many, many entrepreneurs, small business owners, artists, people that seek a different path do so because they are incompatible with the systems that currently exist. And a huge chunk of what I've started to do and I'm working toward doing more is actually speaking to and with corporations
Yeah.
and saying, you are doing yourself a disservice by not allowing your employees to have a different way of doing things. By boxing people into these systems, you're losing talent. You are
Yeah.
losing incredible employees. You are losing the
Yeah.
ability to grow faster because you are so stuck in the way it's always been, in the way we've always done. You cannot. You have to see people for where they are today because unfortunately for you, there's now enough opportunities in this world for people to go and do what they need to do somewhere else.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
adjust or lose.
I would love for you to share with people though how the order. Like here you are. What age were you? You said 29?
When I had my kids,
Like
started 29, yeah.
Tell us what happened in that short
Sure.
time frame.
Right. Okay. So my life was still weird, but pretty normal before I had kids. I did a lot of things. I was a photographer and an artist and I gallivanted. My husband and I lived in Germany for a while. We came back and we had tried for a long time to get pregnant, no dice. Came back from Germany and decided that we would continue fertility treatments here, but that we were going to foster. We ended up adopting from the foster care system. My oldest, Kate, was 4.5 at the time. And there's this system that honestly, it kind of looks like Tinder for children. Basically, it's called photo listing. It's very much a thing, but they have kiddos and basic information about what they love and what they do and all of these things. And you basically submit your home study. And so I did. Um, I had a notification that I got the second a new kiddo was listed and Kate was listed and I emailed her worker within like 5 minutes, again with the no chill. Like that is the theme of my life is no chill. So she emailed me back and said, we actually really like you guys. But P.S. She comes with a 9-month-old little sister. Are you still interested? And I said, Yeah, I mean, we just kind of wanted the one, but yeah, we can do two. Two's cool. So we about 75 families applied, and they ended up choosing us. And for context, my kiddos, several of them, we kind of look like a Gap commercial. There's some of them are black, some of them are brown, some of them are blonde.
Beautiful.
It's a whole wide array
Beautiful.
of humans.
It's a rainbow.
It's a
It
rainbow
is.
of humans, let me tell you.
It's absolutely beautiful.
And they were like, okay, you're gonna learn to do their hair, or you're gonna like what? And I'm like, yep, I'll figure it out. Yes,
Okay.
I will. I could braid, but I
Okay.
didn't have any background in doing um any type of ethnic hair whatsoever, mixed or otherwise, like
Yes.
none. So we figured that out. I had, trauma affected kiddos with no diagnoses and attachment disorders and all kinds of things. And that was that was trial by fire. We were just
Yeah.
figuring it out.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there was kind of a lot of struggle happening between, a 29-year-old new mom, a 4.5-year-old deeply trauma affected kiddo, and a 9-month-old who just, loves to party. Evie
Yeah.
loves to party. Even still, she is a whole moment. She is a vibe. And ask anyone, she is a vibe. So they move in about June, and I was getting ready to head to Utah on a work trip, and not feeling super great. Take a pregnancy test. I am pregnant. Uh, this is after we've stopped all treatments because we have two wild, tiny humans and
Yeah.
had no interest in more whatsoever. And yet here we are.
Yeah.
I was livid. I did not want to be pregnant. I was like, are you kidding me right now? Seriously? And that's just kind of how my life happens to me sometimes. But yep, that was in September. October 23rd, I got a call from our worker, and she said, hey, do you have time to chat? And I said, what? And she goes, so the girls this bio mom had another baby. Nobody knew she was pregnant. He is in the NICU and he's withdrawing. And can you take him? And I said, oh my God, I'm pregnant. And she said, shut the fuck up. And I said, no, ma'am, I cannot.
I would not joke about that.
I cannot. So he was in the NICU for a few weeks, and then he came home. So for those at home counting, at this point, I have a 4.5-year-old, a 1-year-old, and a newborn who is, withdrawing, which is super cool. And I'm 3 months pregnant at the time, 4 months.
Wow.
Yeah. And then so that's, Thanksgiving, Christmas time. And then Jake actually I didn't tell you guys this part. Jake had to go for army training. My husband is in the military. He left for 3 months. So he was gone from January until March. I was by myself with all of these kids.
Holy cow.
I actually forget about that part. So it was deeply traumatic.
The
I don't
trauma.
remember
The trauma.
lots of
Yeah.
this
You have.
time.
You have.
I ripped all the carpet out and I painted stuff. It was a whole moment. And then
You took nesting to like a whole
man,
nother
it was a whole vibe. It was oof. Yeah. And then Rowan was born in May. And so at that point, I had gone from my 29th birthday to my 30th from 0 to 4 kids.
Oh, Brit.
Wow.
Yeah. That was
Yeah.
it was a choice. It was a choice.
I would love for you to share briefly the whole TikTok thing that happened.
Right. Yes. So much like most millennials, mid pandemic, I had nothing left to do. I couldn't work, and my children were driving me insane because I was now home with 5 neurodivergent children and my own thoughts, which was a whole moment. But I got on TikTok because that's what we all did, and honestly, at first, really just started absorbing what was there, and much like everybody else, I was like, ugh. Another time wasty app. Again, I have nothing but time right now, so whatever. And really started just kind of like finding storytelling in TikTok and finding learning in TikTok because there were artists and crafters that were doing things, and I'm a serial crafter. I literally love learning
Yeah.
new crafts all the time. But um honestly kind of just started sharing my world, which was being home with 5 kids and then being diagnosed with ADHD and then all of the pieces that came off of that, which started with kind of, this is what I do. This is what I do in our house to make life easier. This is how I pack for camp for 5 kids. This is how I organize our stuff. So for example, I would do a video that would show how we would get the babies dressed, which is like
Yep.
in our entertainment center in front of the TV is where we would keep all the diapers and where we would have the socks and the underwear. Because if they get out of the bath and they go there,
Yeah.
then we don't have to go to 5 different rooms to find all of the stuff. So it works for my ADHD brain to like shuffle everybody in the same spot, get everybody ready, have the TV on to keep them distracted so nobody's whining because
Yes.
their socks feel weird. And then welcome to ADHD land where things are crazy all the time. But ultimately, like showing people how we do or did things was a way to build a community around myself. And people are like, oh my God, that's brilliant. I'm trying that. And,
Yeah.
you know, being able to say, these things work for me too. Or have you tried this? This one works for us. And then being able to find new tips and tricks that way too.
Yeah.
So that was really how it started.
Okay.
And I've been kind of mentioned this. I mean, I've been a designer and an artist my entire adult life. I went to design school at Iowa State and I loved it. But I had kind of curbed some of that when I became a photographer because ultimately, like, you know, whatever, we use it a little bit in editing, but outside of doing creative projects, I didn't use it as much. So I started doing some kind of digital design stuff and I would film myself doing that and people wanted to buy it. So I started selling that. And then I was starting to do well with that, which was actually really fun. But I actually started kind of needing a planner because I was ending up having projects and stuff that I was needing to keep up with. And figured out that there were no planners that worked for me. None, like none that worked. And a huge chunk of that was being irritated because at the time we still didn't know if we'd be able to leave the house next
Yeah.
week, let alone like be planning months out for things. So the regular planners at Target just,
Yeah.
they were dumb. They didn't work. I needed a day to day option that showed me, okay, that you got to do these 3 things or you're going to end up screwed. The rest of these are kind of your other list. Like if you can get to these are good. You know, if there is an appointment, what time is that at, et cetera. And so I was hunting, trying to find something that worked. There was nothing. So I was like, yeah, I'll just fucking design it myself.
Yep.
So I designed one. I put it on TikTok. I want to say mid January, end of January of 21. And I basically just posted and said, hey, if you guys want this, sh- post your email, whatever, I'll send you a digital file.
Mhm.
And within 3 days, I had a demand for orders. I found a printer. I started printing them. I hired a girlfriend of mine who had done editing work for me as my assistant. Um, Another girlfriend had rented a space right before the pandemic started and they hadn't been able to use it. And she said, hey, do you want to sublet this from us? I said, yes.
Mhm.
And I had about 1,000 orders for planners within that
Yes.
next week.
I remember that.
It was, as we previously stated, feral. It was feral. It was insane. I had no idea what I was doing. No clue. So this all happens basically by February 1st.
Yeah.
And like there are pictures and videos of just piles and piles and
Yep.
piles of planners and things and sharing and doing all of that. And that's kind of how that started, which was wild. And one of the things that I learned from that is that I had to still share my struggles because people assume that when you're successful, you don't struggle anymore, which
Oh.
is super cute, let me tell you. But so for
Oh, it's so cute.
it's so cute. So for example, one of the very first batches of planners that we had ordered, we had found this amazing printer locally, and they were big heavy boxes, just like 12 by 12 by 12 boxes of planners. And it was February in Iowa. So, you know, and I dropped one of these boxes of these fresh, beautiful white paper planners into a slushy mud puddle and
Oh.
ruined like many of them. And basically, I ended up getting on TikTok and saying, "Welp, welcome to my life. Who wants a slushy planner?" And we ran like a big sale or what, not sale, but like a competition or whatever.
Yes.
And I gave them away. And we call them slushies.
Yeah.
And that ended up making us blow up again and having another massive TikTok blow up with these
Yeah.
planners, basically. And I use that as evidence for people to say, don't hide when you fuck stuff up. Don't hide it.
Oh my gosh.
Share it. Make it a laugh. Do something with it. Stop trying to make it seem like you're perfect because ultimately people don't believe that.
No.
They believe when you are a fuck up like them. And that is what they want to see. That they're not the only
Yes,
one.
feral.
Feral.
That is
Feral.
basically the basis of our podcast.
Yes, it is.
And that's a huge chunk of what I do. Like that is the core of what I do. Authenticity and visibility. I want
Yes.
people to see they're not the only one, that there is other ways to do things that maybe they hadn't considered,
Yeah.
and that ultimately we're all just trying to figure it the fuck out.
Yeah.
Like
Yes.
Yeah.
I was born with there's Elise Myers. I don't know if you guys know who Elise Myers is. She's a creator that blew up on TikTok, and she is a queen and I adore her. But she has this sound that she voiced over that says something like that. I was born with the I can do anything gene. It is both delusional and very exciting. And I was also born with that same gene. Like I just figure it the fuck out. I don't know. It's everything's figure outable. I'll figure it out.
Yes.
And
Yes. Wendy, when you have moments like that, what pumps you up? Because then I'll share what mine is.
You mean when I fuck stuff up?
Yeah, when you
What do you do?
when you need to pump yourself up, like, you know
Oh.
what? I can figure this out.
This literally was me a few nights ago helping my daughter get her new phone set up because I'm the IT department of our house.
nice. Good. Yes.
And shit wasn't working. And I just dug my heels in like I am going to figure this out.
This has a solution.
Could we have gone to the Apple store? Could we have gone to the Verizon? No, I'm going to figure it out. So thank God for Google and chats and stuff. I figured it out.
Right.
Like I love when that happens. I love when I have to figure stuff out. We just had to pause because our stupid internet dropped shit and we had to pause, but we figured it out.
Yeah.
Like, so I think I
figure outable.
shine in moments like that.
Yeah. Yeah. You very much do. You very much do.
But yeah, music pumps me up.
Yeah.
I just
Oh
put on
gosh,
some
yeah.
tunes.
Mine is my parents will tell you that I literally word for word, you walked out of mom's vagina,
She stormed out.
ran out requesting a presence.
Right. Right.
And so I will envision that sometimes, like laughing in myself, like,
Yeah.
quit taking yourself so fucking serious, Trisha.
Yeah.
I mean, literally, this is not life or death.
We say that a lot.
I mean, you know what I mean?
Yep.
You have to laugh at yourself. You have to laugh at your fuck ups.
At work, sometimes we'll get bogged down in a problem or something that's not working. And I will literally go, you guys, we are not saving lives. We are making planners. It's fine. Move on. It's not serious. And I think we do. We take ourselves so seriously because other people take us seriously. So I think we have to take ourselves seriously. And it doesn't mean that we can't be professional or can't have, great ideas or great success, but also you're still a fucking human. Give yourself some grace.
Exactly. And we put that expectation on ourselves.
Because how much grace are we willing to give other people and not ourselves?
Exactly.
All the time.
Yeah. Oh, I want to tell you how my squirrel brain works. Like probably 12 times throughout our talk, I've been thinking, ooh, I can't wait to get off this so I can order my subscription box.
Yes. Tell us about your subscription box.
Right. So I don't even remember where the very initial idea started. I think it was just sharing different tools and tips and tricks on TikTok and basically people being like, man, you should start a subscription box with all the stuff that you find, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, well, what if I do start a subscription box? And so that we started it last June. So we're a little more than a year old in that. It's called Brain Fetty. But basically we have a box that's primarily geared toward women, but it's there's plenty of stuff in it for all humans. It's just we tend to lean toward the sparkly and shiny more so than anything else. If you love sparkly and shiny, then by all means, please enjoy. But we pick a theme every month that relates in some way to something that ADHD humans struggle with. Yeah. So our October theme is Focus Pocus, which for the record, if you're hearing this, this is an absolute
it just makes my heart
it's a
happy.
teaser. People didn't know that yet. But so basically we're looking for things to help people productivity, focus, different tools they haven't seen before. And then we always include, there's always stickers that I design or one of my team designs. They're always snarky and ridiculous and mental health based. Usually stuff's kind of sweary because I'm kind of sweary, but yeah, we always have a hyperfixation. So like I talked about my crafting, a lot of times that's what it is, because ADHD people are very known for being like, I'm going to do this activity for 3 weeks and then I'm going to bail on all of it. And so we send you almost like a little sampler of something that you've probably been like, oh, I always wanted to try that.
Yeah.
And then you can see if it's actually something you want to stick with or not. So yeah, there's all kinds of fun stuff in them. But
I love it.
So excited for that.
I love it. I love it.
Okay, to wrap things up.
Oh my God, I forgot I sent you that.
I knew that she would forget. She sent me this
totally
picture.
Forgot.
We will have this on the screen.
Amazing. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
I was in college.
So what advice would you give her?
Oh, sis. Stop worrying about what everybody thinks. I think that ultimately it took me a really long time to be okay with who I am. It took me, I've always been larger than life. And I think that with that comes an expectation to do epic shit, which for the record is in neon on my wall at my warehouse, on a flower wall, which is very on brand for me. But I think that I also needed to learn to pause and figure out which parts to cut back on. I needed to figure out where my zone of genius is. I needed to figure out, I can do everything, but should I? And I think that there are large pieces of that I'm learning now at 37 that 19-year-old me could not have known. And there are so many things I've gotten to do because I'm a hectic human, because I'm a little bit feral, because I don't slow down and think.
Yeah.
And I've gotten some really cool opportunities because of that. But I've also fucked some shit up because of that too. And I think that worrying less about what other people think and doing more of what I need for me, for my kiddos, for my family, for my chosen humans, I'm making better choices. And whether that's, closing a shop that I love but isn't the best choice for us right now, or whether that's making choices in my marriage to best support my kids, or making choices within myself in my free time to say no. If it's not a hell yes, it's a fuck no. Stop wasting my time, because it's worth more than that. And 19-year-old me wanted to do everything, and 37-year-old me wants to do the best of the things. And so that's what I would tell her. You can do anything, but you shouldn't. You can do anything, but you can't do everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. Love it. Love it.
But she was hilarious.
She's even good.
She was good party. She was good party.
She's got a duck thing on. I've got my duck.
Yeah.
My ducking.
Ducks. I love it so
Yes.
much.
I
Yes.
love it.
I do have to ask though, how many times have you been told throughout your life that you're too much?
So a lot.
Yeah.
A lot.
Wendy and I have also
a lot.
We've had those conversations.
Yeah.
I'm still told that pretty regularly.
Yeah.
Except then that girl would be sad about it and be bummed. And now I say, then go find less.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
it's not my problem.
Yeah.
That's your opinion of me is none of my business.
Exactly.
It's just not.
Yep.
I know exactly what I've achieved by being too much, and I intend to be more. So go find less. That's what I say to that.
Oh my goodness. So I mean, just so happy that you were able to come on.
I'm so thankful you guys asked me. The need for feral badass women in this world is not only necessary, but requested. I think that it's one of the pieces that women have been told to sit down and shut up for so long. And now I see so many women who are ready for that not to be the norm anymore. And other women want to see that they also can kind of fuck shit up, but still do really well.
Yes.
Yeah. That's the core. That's the core of what I do, is show people that you can do anything. You might drop it in a mud puddle. You might have slushy planners, but hot damn if you can't still keep going. So.
Exactly.
Yeah. Curiosity over judgment will do you wonders. I will give you an excellent example.
Yeah.
So last week, my son Rowan, which is the one that I made, the one who I have no excuse for
from
except for
scratch.
myself. Yep.
Mhm.
He is 7 and he chopped the entire front of his hair off. And I said, my guy, why did we do this, friend? Like, to be very fair, at the beginning of my parenting journey, I would have lost my ever loving shit because that was my initial learned response was, what the fuck? Like, you don't cut your hair. You're 7. You know better. You know how to use scissors. Good gravy.
Yeah.
But I have learned that neurodivergent people tend to have a lot of intentionality. There tends to be reasons behind why something is happening or how something is happening. Things don't typically just happen willy-nilly for us. Like, a lot of times we get distracted because of X, Y, and Z. Things happen. So if you ask that question, the why, often you're going to be less frustrated because you're going to have an understanding of how they got there. You might not see the get there path, but I can pretty well assure you that it's there.
Yeah.
So I asked Ro, I said, hey, why, friend? Why did we cut our hairs? And he said, Mom, the hairs were poking my brain. And I said, you mean that it was in your eyes and it was poking your face? It was a sensory issue. And once I figured that out, I was like, well, of course it was. Yeah. My bangs poke my brain and it irritates me, and then I cut them and my hair girl gets mad. So, right? I mean, but my 7-year-old didn't quite have the words for, I was sensory overwhelmed at the pool and I was getting my bangs in my eyes. And so I just cut them to make them go away. Yeah. Of course he did. Of course he did. Yeah. He is an autistic kiddo. Of course that's what he did. And that absolutely makes the sense. Like, duh.
Yes.
And I think that even for adults, my husband has learned to say, okay, I see you're not doing great here.
Yeah.
Why? Is it a feeling? Is something happening? And sometimes offering some of those, we get really caught up in not knowing the words to say sometimes because it's maybe a feeling rather than a thing.
Yeah.
And so saying like, are you too hot? Are you too cold? Is it something going on at work? Is it something at home? Did I say something and did it come off the wrong way? Sometimes offering options to people and inquiring in that realm can be helpful. I think that ultimately providing that you aren't going to judge, but you're just trying to problem solve can sometimes lessen the shame that happens for neurodivergent people because we don't necessarily want to be reacting the way that we're reacting to something.
Yeah.
It's often very, very uncontrollable. But what can be controlled is sometimes our environment around us. And sometimes just finding out what's causing the struggle can be very helpful.
It's a game changer for sure.
It is.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
It's a big one for kids too, for the record.
Yeah.
Are they tired, hungry? How's the temperature? Check those 3 things first. Then see if they're okay. Chances are likely they're hungry or tired or uncomfortable.
Great advice.
Man, that's one that'll get me. So.
Great advice.
Yep.
For sure.
Yep. We should just say Brit PhD.
Okay. I actually have we can end on this story. I have a funny thing for this. So I'm regularly asked to be on panels for things.
Yes.
I struggle feeling like I'm not worth being taken seriously because I don't have my master's or PhD. And most of mine is acquired knowledge that I have.
Yeah.
And I've had many people counter that more times than I can count. But ultimately, I get really stressed out if I'm the only one on a panel or something that doesn't have letters after my name. Like I'm the only one.
Yeah.
And we've decided now that if I'm on something where there's PhDs or whatever, I'm going to do a Britney Brown W.T.A.F. at the end of mine. We're just going to start leaving it like that
and just wait for someone.
That's perfect.
Wait for someone to ask you what it means.
What the actual fuck.
Yes, exactly. Oh, that's how we have to totally end it.
Yeah.
I will put that in the show notes.
Yes,
amazing.
Exactly. Oh my goodness.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for coming on. Yep.
Bye.
Bye.
Your Sasstastic Life is produced by Apex VO. Go to apexvo.com. That's APEXXVO.